Hey guys, Black Templar here again. Another video going in the VA thread of mine. I've been meaning to do this for quite some time, and now that I got some time off work and stuff, I'm gonna get back to it. More specifically, though, I wanted to actually start from the beginning and go through the entire process of actually doing one of the models here that I got. So I'm gonna do the whole thing from start to finish. You can see from assembling to painting to priming and all that stuff. So you can really get a feel for what really goes into the entire process. Now, most of the time when you see me do something, it starts out kind of like this, where something's already painted black or it's already got some paint on it. I mean, I don't remember exactly how far back I've gone in the process, but since this is going to be from start to finish, you'll see actually that this is a metal model, and they come just like you see here. This is solid. I think this is actually made out of pewter. This is solid pewter. It's kind of a softer metal, but there's no paint on any of this. This is how it comes out of the package after you purchase it. This is the main body of what we're going to be working on. And what we're working on for this entire series is if I can get it, got the camera oriented the wrong way. This is a Cygnar Grenadier. It is a Warmachine model. It is a light warjack. It can best be described as like a kind of like a fire support model. It's not necessarily made for smashing somebody's face in, nor is it made to protect other things. It's kind of just it's what it is. It's armed. Its left arm is obviously a grenade launcher, which is here, and then its right arm is armed with a mattock, if I'm pronouncing that right, or mattock, which is just a fancy word for a freaking pickaxe, a giant overgrown pickaxe. So, I mean, other jacks are armed with cannons and piston fists or enormous axes with flames on them or something. So you can tell that this is sort of at best kind of a light machine. But seriously, starting from the beginning. So what happens is you'll get this package. Like me, I got mine in the mail. Comes in a box like this. It's got the card in there. I got the card taken out, of course, it's right there, and it comes in this this foam stuff, and it's going to look exactly like it does here. Now, there's no real instructions on how to put these together. On the back of that box, there's a bit of instruction, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You got a torso, you got a pair of legs, you have a weapon arm, and then of course you got a head. This head is actually kind of cool. I like this head. It looks more like a knight head, which is pretty sweet. Anyways, you'll get the smaller pieces on this stuff. It's called a sprue. They'll just be attached to these doodads here at the end. And what you do is you can wiggle them off. Since this is a metal, you can wiggle them off. If it was plastic, you would cut them off. But you just wiggle them off the metal, and you can actually keep these, because these will work out later for stuff like terrain and stuff. If you want to put stuff on your bases for decoration, this kind of stuff really comes in handy because it's really malleable. It's really soft metal, so it's easy to manipulate or cut up or make into debris or whatever, what have you. So really, what we're gonna get done in the video first here today is dry assembling everything, because you're going to want to dry fit everything before you start putting everything together with glue. And of course we're going to take care of what's called mold lines. Now, mold lines are exactly what they sound like. These pieces of metal are what's called metal injected. So what you got is you got two pieces of a mold. So pretend like my hands are a mold. And so what happens is those two pieces come together, and then you can see in the breaks, like in between my fingers here, you got holes where they pour in the metal. Now those holes, after the metal is poured in and you open the cast, are going to leave things, let's see if I can get something really sharp here, are going to leave things called mold lines. Now you can see this line, this real faint line here. You can barely see it, and then just on the back, if I can get it to focus, you can barely see that line in the back there. And if you go around this piece, you can tell which side it was injected on, because it's got lines running all down the side of the arm. Now, they look subtle, but after you spray coat this and then you paint details on it, this line is going to be as sharp and defined as any other piece on the model, and it will look absolutely atrocious. So you have to get rid of those. A couple ways you can do it. You can use just a hobby knife. It's just a little razor knife. You can use a file. I have a file here on the old Swiss Army knife. You can use a file like this. It's got to be a real fine-grained file, though. You don't want to use something real rough because you're going to dig into the metal and stuff. So this one's been heavily used. It was actually pretty gritty at one point, but since it's been used a lot in the hobby, in my hobbying purposes, I'll go ahead and use it because it's not going to do any real sanding into details and stuff if I go over details. But ideally you want to get a, it's called a, I don't actually have any, which really pisses me off. You need to get what's called, you got, I think they're called pen files. They're just real thin files. It's really just a pencil width file, or even about the width of this brush, and it's just files that are circular that are shaped with a pen, so you can get in these real hard to get reaches or places, and you can reach in the nooks and crannies. Those are really awesome, and I actually haven't gotten around to getting some, and I've done this for like 8 years. But anywho, I'm just going to use a knife, and if you're going to be using a knife, it's a really simple technique. So you're going to go ahead and grab a piece here. And since the camera is oriented the wrong way, I'm going to like do this upside down sort of. But so you got a piece here. If I can get it to focus perfectly. You have a piece and you have your knife. Coming straight at it like a Neanderthal isn't going to work. You got to come at it at about a 45-degree angle and just very gently slide back and forth. Now it's going to put some metal shavings on your hand, but don't worry, it's not going to kill you. And you're going to get a really shiny silver line like you can see now if I can get it to look right. The white light is helpful a lot for painting, but not so much for video. It's going to make a silvery looking line, which is actually going to be where the metal has scraped off, and that's good because it'll show you where you need to focus your effort. And it's really easy. All you got to do is take it down a real small notch, and you can run your finger over it, and you can very well feel if it's still there or not. So we're just going to go ahead and do the back of this. This pickaxe has got a couple on it, and this arm does also. So after this stage, we're going to get into priming. Priming is really easy. There's no technique to it, really, to be honest. There's a couple things you can do to make it look nicer, but other than that, I mean, it's not very difficult. The hobby in general is not very difficult. All you have to do is know how to do everything once, and after you do everything once, it's super easy. So just making your way all the way around every part of the limb. Then the lines will be really straight too. Because it's injected in a flat surface, the lines will be perfectly straight all the way around. So you can literally follow the line all the way around the piece to find all the pieces, or to find all the lines, excuse me. And so don't be worried about trying to find them. Some of them are on places that you actually sometimes might want to leave because it'll add to whatever definition you're trying to add to a certain part. Like parts in these joints, if I can get the joints to show. Parts in these joints you might actually want to leave them because it'll add to the definition of these rods that are inside the arm here. Parts like on this ball here, the ball joint, you can leave those because all you're going to do is glue over that anyway. No big deal there. On these armored plates, you're going to definitely want to get them off of there because the armor is very straight, and after you paint it, you'll be able to see those from a mile away, trust me. And everybody, no matter who they are, people who never even played this game or never even modeled, can be like, what are those lines for? And you're going to be like, oh, damn it. So this is actually already shaved up and done. The torso, and this is why I like Privateer Press. Privateer Press makes these models. The torso is absolutely clean. There is one mold line on this underside. You can barely see it. It's that line there. Looks like a black line. It's on the underside. If you face it upside, this is how it faces here. It's on that underside. So it's like, that's not even remotely important. You don't have to go after that at all. Now this whole torso is completely clean. There's not a mold line on here besides that one underneath his groin. And I'm not even going to get at that. That's why I like Privateer Press, because all this stuff, these mold lines, generally in the hobby, they're going to be freaking everywhere. And it's annoying as crap, because you'll miss one and it'll show up in the paint. But Privateer Press is really good about their injection molding. So I hardly see anything come off of their stuff, which is, it's just a nice thing, because it just takes so much time sometimes to get all this stuff, and upon inspection these are all pretty much all pretty much clean. These legs too, and legs on models, especially when they have mold lines, it's hard to get them, because if you just take a look at these legs, there's mechanical parts and joints and doodads everywhere, and trying to find all the mold lines on them would be a nightmare. But since they're made by Privateer Press, I'm not actually seeing anything. which is actually just so nice because that takes, you know, an hour out of this hobby pretty much. I mean, other models from other companies, they're everywhere. And so we can get on with painting and less mold line scraping. So that's pretty much all I had to do right there was this one piece. So next we're going to dry fit everything. And these legs, they have pegs, as you can see in the bottom. So the foot is here, and then you got a peg there. Fits snug in the base. So go ahead and stab those in there, make sure both of them fit, make sure they're not moving around. And they don't appear to be. So the next thing that would go on is the torso. And these torsos, all of them have a joint. So you got, if I can get this, put this down here. You got a joint here, where the camera should focus. Focus, damn it. Alright, autofocus is going away. Macro, there we go. So you got a ball joint just here, it's a circle, and then you have a peg in here that will accept the front kind of the thigh. So it'll fit exactly perfectly, as a matter of fact, on the opposite side here. So it's only going to go one way too, so you don't have to worry about getting the legs wrong. So all you have to do is really just give it a slip. Oops, I got it in backwards. Look at that, I just put it in backwards. And it only fits one way, so it wasn't fitting right there. Give it a slip, and there you go. So that fits okay. Take that off. I got a left arm. And this arm I kind of particularly like because it can be posed in many different ways. Because it's, you can see the shoulder if you line up the arm perpendicular to your surface here. So we go like this. The shoulder is actually pointing that way. The arm is pointing straight down, and your shoulder is pointing out this way. So you can pose this kind of a multitude of different ways. You can have it going out like this, kind of like that. So he's facing this way and he's swinging out this way. Or you can have it turned to where the pickaxe is out in front of him like this. Or you can even have it down to the side. So you can do this a couple different ways, which is kind of nice. I'm going to actually have it doing like it is on the box. And he's going to be swinging out this way and look like he's running towards somebody. So that'd be kind of cool. And then this right arm, you got your grenade launcher that I'm going to drop and mess up horribly. Grenade launcher. Pretty self-explanatory because the grenade launcher just sits in there. It's just the ball joint. And the ball joint you can mess with any way how. And then of course, after you got that in there, you would plop on this other little shoulder pad. The matching shoulder pad that goes on the other side. It's on the other arm, just like the matlock or mattock or the dumb pickaxe, whatever they call it. So that'll just sit on top of that ball joint. And then of course the head. Heads usually fit pretty easy. Just stick it in there. I mean, I'm not even holding it. It's sitting in there just fine. So, pretty good. So what we're going to do now is just do a bit of gluing. Now, this is a metal model. Resin models take a particular type of glue, and they take to it pretty well. But metal models, you can pretty much use anything. This is from the local hobby shop here. It's just a... this is actually for plastics and hardwoods and for resin, but this stuff works really well, so I use it for everything. You can use super glue, and let's see if I have some around here to show you. Here we go. You can use regular super glue. This is a liquid glue. This is a liquid. You can get gel glues, which are so much more helpful, which is what I did after a while, and then I ran into this stuff. But you can really use any type of super glue. Gorilla Glue works okay if you can control the expanding of the actual liquid itself, because it does tend to expand a lot. So if you can nail down, I would have to say super glue that comes from, I think the company was Maxwell or something. Whatever company that was, it works really well. So generally super glue works pretty well for any model. So I'm just gonna drop some in these joints and do the legs first. And this stuff goes on pretty sticky, so you don't have to worry about it pooling up everywhere. And since this only fits in one way, you don't actually have to worry too much about it moving once it's in there. So there, boom. And that sits in actually really nicely. I like that. I like that a lot. Cool. I'm just gonna set that down. Hopefully my, oh no, I'm sticking to it. There it goes. Okay. Now it's important once you start gluing stuff to glue it and then leave it. Don't touch it again. So I'm just going to move that to the side. And the reason for doing that is because if you touch it after you've glued it, it's going to move slightly, and then it's going to move more. Especially metal models, they'll move on their own, and then you'll get a kind of a, almost like gravity will take effect too much after you touch it slightly, and it'll overcompensate for your touching. It'll fall over, and then, or worst case scenario, even worse, if you touch it slightly and you don't notice it, but it starts to slowly inch forward, and then by the time you're done, you got your model, and he's straight up at the base, and he's all like hunchback and looking dumb. So once that's on there, leave it. Unfortunately, since now that's on there, I can't very well go around and glue everything else. But the good thing is, you don't really need to see me do that. All you have to do, go around and glue every other part on there. Pretty simple, pretty easy. So I'll come back once everything's glued on. So see you in part 2.